I graduated from here in 2010, and I got the invitation for homecoming in the mail, and my husband and I have just bought a home. We actually bought it from some Guilford grads as well, and I saw the 5-year reunion thing and thought, oh, this must be for Brian and them, but no, it was for us. So here I am, and I work at UNCG in an administrative position in African American, African Diaspora Studies, and am in graduate school as well for public health. But the thing that fires me up the most is really community organizing. And I'll say that I got into that at Guilford. Guilford definitely created a sense of commitment to social justice in me, and gave me this crazy idea that I could do something to change the world. I could use all of my talents. I could have an awesome, functional workplace where everyone was friendly, where you got paid well and living wage, and were able to change the world and have a life at the same time, and someone would pay you to do it. If you find a job like that, ride that train till the wheels fall off. And don't be surprised if you do, though, because there are some people from Guilford doing wonderful things. But most of the organizing that I've done, that I've seen in Greensboro, that has been particularly inspiring to me has been people who are organizing for their own communities, not necessarily getting paid to do it, which is not to say that paid activism is not a wonderful thing. It allows people to be engines. But there are women, particularly women, especially in Northeast Greensboro, with the Citizens for Economic and Environmental Justice and Concerned Citizens of Northeast Greensboro, and also the Renaissance Community Cooperative, who are really advocating for their own communities and working on this for free, in their spare time, after work, people who have meetings 5, 6, 7 days of the week. And it's incredibly powerful because you have a groundswell from that community. They were able to, a few years ago, prevent a landfill in Greensboro from opening back up. The city wanted to open up this landfill that had been proven to increase rates of pancreatic cancer in men in the area. And the city's response initially when people asked them not to do that was, sorry, we're interested in going ahead with this anyway, here's the study, and by the way, Black people and Latinos tend to die early anyway. There's no way you can prove it's the landfill. That was in some notes on the back of the study. And so people got together and they organized for voting, and they also were able to carry that last election. They were able to get themselves heard, to get the landfill guaranteed that it would not be reopened. And that energy continued to swell in the community to the point that people are now able to organize to open a cooperative grocery store. And that's something that I've been involved in too. And how many of you are familiar with a cooperative? Because of course, this is Guilford. But since this is going on the internet, a co-op is a business that is owned by a group of people who benefit from a service. This can be workers, consumers, et cetera. This is going to be a store that is owned by the community that it will be in. And this is super important for this community because they have not had a grocery store in 17 years in that area. You imagine if the food desert that is in that area were a person, it would be going off to college right now. Like, it is that old. And it's high time that Greensboro dealt with it. And so to see this organization with, admittedly, help from lots of nonprofits, organizations from across Greensboro as well, but essentially this community came together and has raised $1.45 million over 3 years to start a grocery store. And we've only had, 2 full-time staff people? Most of this has been community effort. And so I've since disabused myself of the notion that the only way to get things done or make change is for people who are working on a project to be paid. In fact, it meant that because people were not vulnerable in terms of their work with the project, people were able to fight various political forces that would have otherwise thwarted the project. And we're working, and we're really hopeful, and I am pretty sure the RCC is going to be here in 2016. That said, with all of the organizing efforts that are going on across the country for social justice, food deserts like this, with political organizing for human rights in the US, for all the labor organizing that's going on, there's a concerning message that I'm hearing, and that is that it'll all be okay. We're moving towards progress, and that what you're seeing, this backlash against human rights and human dignity for anyone considered other, is just the death rattle of this establishment. But ask a couple of labor organizers from the 60s if the backlash against labor was the death rattle of the establishment. Or ask people from Reconstruction if the backlash against blacks being able to vote was the death rattle of racism in the US. We have to keep fighting. And as those organizers learned, it might not be all right. It might not end the way that you want it to end. And that's a scary thing to know moving forward and organizing with people, especially since in every other area of your life, you're conditioned to do something because it will work. This is effective, I'm going to do it. But when I was at Guilford, there was this wonderful book I read. I can't remember who wrote it, but there was a definition in there that separated the definitions of hope from optimism. And optimism was defined as thinking that the best was going to occur, that everything was going to turn out all right. And if you're an optimist politically, right now either you're on the right or you don't live in North Carolina, or you could do hope. And hope is doing the right thing because it makes sense to do it. Because there is something that draws you to do it, that draws this movement from people all around the country that are organizing on various fronts, that are intersecting and not intersecting, but that are moving towards justice. And we might not get there today. We might not get there. I'd say we've made progress, significant progress, over the course of our nation's history, but would any of you say we're there? Okay. And that might not happen, but it still makes sense to move forward and to work together. And that's the biggest takeaway that I've gotten from organizing after Guilford College. And I'd like to thank all of my professors that I had when I was here, mentors, people who didn't even know they were mentoring me. Jada, who was here, who just had to leave. When I was an undergrad, I wanted to be all put together and professional like Jada when I graduated. It was going to be great. And I'd like to thank Maria Amato in the sociology department because she is wonderful. And she and definitely Professor Hassan gave me my social analysis. And I'd like to thank all of them as well. So thank you.